in all my life. I mean, you do. Build my whole world around you. Bam, bam, bam. Always. Girl, you are my sunshine, baby. Don't you go away. Already me, I lie on me. I will love you forever. I will love you forever. Everything. Anything. And I'ma build my whole world around you. Ways. Girl, you love my sunshine, baby, don't you? Bam, bam. Already I lie on me. I will love you forever. Good morning. I lie on me. Okay, that was Timmy Dakolo, and that is titled Iyawumi. One of my favorite songs. I mean, when I used to be on radio, I played this song every week that I was on radio. It was my sign-on tune and one of the songs I love the most. So I want to say thank you very much for joining us. This is PF Things episode 69. Whoa! Episode 69. So tomorrow we hit 70. So it means that we've been doing this for 70 days. Amazing. Amazing. I mean, to God be the glory. So this is live from Praise for International Studio, Lagos, Nigeria. How are you today? And how is everything with you? I hope you're keeping safe and sound. We want to thank God for protection and provision. COVID-19 is biting very hard all over Nigeria and in the US, from what I'm made to understand, is dropping a bit in Canada and some other parts of the world. But in Nigeria, South Africa, Brazil, in the USA, it's on the rise. We pray that God protects us, and we pray for acceleration of solutions by scientists and those looking for the vaccine so far. Well, yesterday we started a new series, Common Mistakes Married Men Make, and yesterday was Off the Hook. Thank you very much for all your rave reviews about what we shared yesterday on the fact that a lot of men don't understand headship. By the way, I spent yesterday studying matriarchy around the world, and I realized that there are still 6 communities around the globe where women are the ones who lead, women are the ones who rule. I found one in Kenya. I found another one in China, and very, very interesting stories. I mean, the one in Kenya was actually very, very interesting because it started with a woman who felt that other women were being sexually violated and they were domestically violated, and she decided to go and set up a village. And then since then, women who are in trouble have gone to that village, and women live there. They don't want to get married anymore. Of course, that's an extreme case, but since she started it, people that she had mentored are also started an hybrid of their own. Some have started a community where women are the ones who take the lead, women are the ones who rule, and the men can go lead there, but they have to be bound by the rules that women set. Interesting story. So women are the head in that community. The one in China, very, very interesting. I discovered something called walking marriage yesterday, which is a situation where you just go in as a man and you go and meet a little girl in a house. A mother is aware, and you can do whatever you like. But women call the shots in that community as well. Very interesting. They are the ones who do all the jobs. I mean, there's so much dynamism around the globe, which is why we always say that marriage is often cultural. And I just look at that, and I found it very interesting. I studied it from a standpoint of a student, and very, very interesting read. So we actually have about six communities around the world. There's another one in Ghana, where women actually are the ones who call the shots. Now, but that's that. Today we go to number two common mistake men make, which is I can undo a woman syndrome. Now we're going to dwell a little bit on this. It's not something I think I can finish today. We might need to spend about 4 days on this particular mistake that men make. Okay, I can undo any woman's syndrome. How many times have you heard men make this statement? Right, I can undo you, or I have your type at home. There is something about us men that just assume that we have all it takes to undo women, especially when we have money. Every time you listen to our artists sing songs in America, in Nigeria, it's almost as if once you have money, a woman will follow you. And those songs are written from the premise of the age-long belief that women are from a very poor background. It didn't take into consideration that some women are coming into marriage as billionaires, as millionaires. They have their own money to spend, right? So, how much money can you spend on a daughter of Bill Gates, for example, if her father has decided to will his entire wealth to her, right? So you realize that a lot of men feel less than men when they can provide, or when they can manipulate or control through economics, right? So you hear this all the time. People just say, I cannot do a woman syndrome. And oftentimes when they make that statement, is also because they do not understand the difference between a woman and a wife. Now, when you don't humble yourself to decipher who your wife truly is, you will assume a user's manual and become frustrated trying to fit her into who she's not. A lot of us cannot differentiate between a woman and a wife. There's a difference. Every wife is a woman. Not every woman will be a wife, right? Every wife is a woman, but not every woman will become a wife. A lot of people do not understand that while wife is identity, womanhood is actually a role that is optional, right? A woman can decide not to activate that role, and the society does not have a right to insist that she must become a wife, which is why it becomes very awkward when we put pressure on girls to get married who don't want to get married, or who don't have all it takes to undo that role, to go get married to a man who doesn't understand the meaning of the wife, right? A woman is simply a feminine expression of humanity, where humanity is man or mankind, right? And if you have been following me, I've defined this severally, that the difference between a man and a woman is simply the body, right? There's a difference, they're not the same, but it's the body, right? And biology basically, right, that a male is a feminine, masculine expression of humanity, where of man, where man is humanity, while the female or woman is the womb man, which is simply the feminine expression of humanity, right? And that's totally different from wife, because wife now becomes Isa. Isa means the kind of help that only God could have supplied. So you need to understand that there's also a role description that comes with being a wife. Now, as a man, when you do not, or as a man who has become a husband, now when you don't know your role as a husband, which is simply the groomer of a bride, and you now come into marriage without understanding who a wife is, you will actually desire, or you will desire a cook, thinking that you want a wife, right? So a lot of men actually think that a wife is a cook. They think a wife is a housekeeper, right? So you see a whole lot of myth, a whole lot of lies, a whole lot of teachings that contradict the very ethos of a wife. Now, when you don't understand who a wife is, you're going to abuse a wife. You're going to misuse a wife. You're going to try to fit your wife into the mold of the shape of what you had in your mind, which was the olden day wife, right? Wherein the men then did not see women as beings to be respected. They saw women as things to be used, whose potential was confined to the kitchen and to the bedroom, right? And you still hear some leaders of nations make statements like, my wife belongs to the kitchen and the other room, right? They cannot see a brain, they cannot see an intelligence, they cannot see a vice president within the context of the home, right? So when you see a man who does not understand who a wife is or who a woman is and cannot differentiate the two, is going to abuse a wife, because a wife is a school that you need to humble yourself to attend. You cannot lead her without following her, right? You cannot effectively be a teacher without becoming a student. So why do men assume that they can handle a wife? One is cultural beliefs. We have a lot of cultural beliefs that just makes us believe that the moment you have penis, you have superiority of intelligence, right? And I've seen a lot of women who are more intelligent than men. And in fact, go to a typical school, you will see in a department where ladies are the ones who lead that department. So based on competence of what is taught, you would see superiority of intelligence, right? So imagine the man who is last in that class will naturally think that, oh, when it comes to marriage, I will still rule over you, right? So consistently, you have a lot of women who have a lot of intelligence, a lot of things to offer, but cannot offer it in marriage simply because the man is insecure and he cannot handle the greatness of a woman now, or the greatness of a wife. I often say to ladies, any man that cannot handle your greatness is not worthy of you. You do not subject your excellence to the mediocrity of someone who does not have the capacity to maximize you. It's going to frustrate you, right? So it is better for him to marry, ladies who warm up to him, ladies that can rule, than ladies, who are high flyers, whose wing is going to be clipped simply because, Amadioha wants to be worshipped or Amadioha wants to eat. So a lot of women have had their destiny truncated by a man who believe that it's his wife that must cook for him all the time. There is nothing wrong with that if you love to do that, but where food now begins to stifle the potential of a human being, we need to begin to revisit it. So cultural beliefs is one, and we have a lot of cultural beliefs across the globe. I mean, I was watching that particular village where women are the ones who rule, and the particular village where they broke out from, having been subjected to all kinds of torture. They went to meet the men and they interviewed them, and the men said, you know what, these ladies cannot survive without us. They will still need us to protect them, and we need to secure them. A woman must consistently be under a man, and that's not totally correct. A woman does not have to be under a man. It's a wife that has to be under a husband, right? There's a difference in there. A woman can actually live without a man, right? Even though now when it now comes to reproduction, that a woman may not necessarily be able to do without. Even science has made that easy right now, because people can go to sperm bank, of course, which is still the need of a woman, because the need of a man, because a man has got to donate the semen, right, to fertilize the egg, whichever way, right? But you cannot simply just conclude that a woman cannot live without a man. A wife is the one that must be under her husband. It's not a woman that must be consistently be under a man, right? So you need to understand that difference, because it's a major difference that our world has not been able to situate and appropriate effectively, which has led us into all kinds of errors, and wherein we need to build friendship. We begin to look for the difference in superiority or inferiority, which is what our world needs to totally annul and embrace collaboration, which is the new competition anyway, that you need to collaborate with your wife to build an excellent family, as against trying to usurp authority and stifle the potential. So cultural beliefs is one. Myth and lies is another one. And I've talked about some of this myth and lies in my previous broadcast, where you hear things like the first thing of a man is respect, the first thing of a woman is love. It's not totally correct. Every human being has got love, has got a need for love and need for respect. As a matter of fact, every human being, your left side is the feminine side, your right side is the masculine side, and that's what psychology says, right? And you need to understand that we all have needs in equal measure. So when you hear things like men are logical, women are emotional, it's not totally correct. Every human being has got logic and emotion. The one you pay attention to the most is the one that becomes very pronounced, which is why a lot of men struggle when they now meet a logical woman and they are now emotional, right? They begin to say, oh, why is she behaving like a man? What do you mean by she's behaving like a man? She is a man, because the word man is the word humanity. She's just a feminine expression of humanity, right? But she's not a husband, however, but she is a man, right? She's not a male, she's a female, right? But you need to understand, is a very thin line that our world needs to understand, because a lot of religious errors also has contributed to this. When people don't understand concepts, context of what the scriptures they are reading, and a lot of people teach, whether Quran or Bible, they've gone into this error, right, where you begin to just bring what Apostle Paul said, that I do not permit a woman to teach, and you say women should shut up, women must not talk. That's not what Apostle Paul was saying. Apostle Paul was dealing with a crisis in a particular church, right? And he says, I do not permit women to teach. That is his own opinion. That's not God's opinion, right? Apostle Paul had to create that circumstantial law based on what was happening in that particular terrain. This age and time is never going to be able to do that, right? But so we cannot bring what Apostle Paul has said and now slap it on everyone. What of church is being led by a woman, right? Do you now say your pastor's wife should keep quiet? Or if you have a woman who can teach, who teaches better than men, she should keep quiet, right? So what people just do is they spring one scripture, take it out of context, and bring it into marriage. He was not talking about marriage. Paul was not married, from what we know, right? So you cannot just bring what he says about church administration and bring it into marriage or bring it into our world. Now, when men don't understand this, they will slap scripture on women and make them keep quiet, right? And people will say even Jesus does not have a female disciple. If you understand the culture of the Jews and the setting that was happening, that Jesus walked within the template that was available, right? It was in an era where a woman couldn't have become a Sanhedrin, right? A woman couldn't have become a disciple, right? Because within the culture. And that's why Jesus said that you have made the word of God of no effect by your tradition. That Jesus had to respect the culture and tradition, because tradition is very key and very huge, right? And that is why we always say that culture must be progressive, and you must be able to change culture where culture is inimical to the growth and development of a human being. So cultural beliefs is why a lot of men struggle with this. Myth and lies is another reason. Religious error is another reason. And this, which is why I think a lot of people teach on marriage on various pulpits, need to go for learnings and trainings to better understand the context and what to teach, or else we will drive, perpetually promote rape, promote domestic violence unknown to us by our teaching, right? Ignorance of a user's manual is another reason. A lot of our men do not bother to find out the user's manual of their wives. They just assume that I can handle a woman syndrome, and they are going to mess up that women. A lot of women have their esteem totally shattered simply because they married a man. There was a particular year I had worked with over 45 women who were battling with depression. And what I found out consistently was the only remote cause of their depression was the fact that they married a man, because they just look back at their life and they realized that it could have been better without that marriage, right? Because the married cultural men who could not respect their potential. So many of the things they could do have been stifled simply because the man will not want them to go out. All he wanted them to do was raise a child and then make babies and cook, basically, right? So ignorance of a user's manual. When you don't understand your spouse's user's manual, you're going to assume R and you're going to misuse R. Now, assumed personality is another one, which is very, very heavy. And I'm going to dwell a little bit on that. That when you don't understand the personality style of your spouse, you are going to assume R and you're going to misuse R. Now, who is your wife as a man? That's the question I would want to answer within the context of this particular number 2 common mistake that married men make. Now, is your wife an intimidating wife? Because women come in 4 packages, the same way men come in 4 packages. We all come in 4 packages, and sometimes we are a combination of the 4, right? Is your wife an intimidating wife? Are you married to a creative wife? Are you married to a dependable wife? Are you married to a systematic wife? Unfortunately, a lot of men actually desire a dependable wife. They cannot stand it when they now marry an intimidating wife. Who is an intimidating wife? An intimidating wife, one, is the kind of woman that suffers from what people call, oh, she's trying to rule her husband, right? So when you hear people make that statement that your wife is trying to rule you, is there a possibility that they're talking about an intimidating wife? She's an intimidating Oma. An intimidating wife is a natural leader. She wants to be in control and take charge, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, right? She's a workaholic. She has fits of anger when goals are not met. An intimidating wife is achievement driven. She's driven by achievement. She can't tolerate delay. She can involve in too many projects. She's a blunt communicator. She can be very argumentative. Now, if you have a woman or if you have a wife with this trait, how can you handle her? Society will tell you that, oh, your wife is the one ruling you. Your wife wants to be the leader in the home. No. When you understand who she is and you have respect for her personality will positively affect the family, and you will need to understand that she's an extension of you. If you're an introvert and your wife is an extrovert, she will save you from being cheated. She will stand for you when people are trying to ride you. She is the anchor for the family. And you need to understand that she's operating within the confines of the authority that you have made available and the environment that you have made available for a potential to try. What many of us do is because we can't understand these women, we try to stifle them. And because many of them also may not be able to effectively handle power, they break away, which is why you see a lot of them out of marriage simply because the men cannot handle their greatness. And you will realize that when they check out of marriage, they still go ahead to succeed as a business owner. Maybe marriage would have failed, but they would succeed in whatever they lay their hands on. And some of them, they have married to men who have been able to handle them. So when you see, women like, Michelle Obama is quite strong. She's an intimidating wife. Margaret Thatcher was one. People like Michelle Obama is another one. People like what's her name again? Hillary Clinton is another one, right? When you see this power women, right? Some of them call them alpha female, right? But we call them intimidating wives, right? They want to achieve result, right? They are achievement driven. They can't tolerate delay. So in the home, when things are lagging, they want to take responsibility and fix it. And there is nothing wrong with that, because some men, it takes them forever to take their decision and things are going to be destroyed, right? Children's school fees are not going to be paid, right? So she is going to step forward and fix it, right? And it's not a big deal. If we learn to appreciate and massage our ego and help her understand that we appreciate what you're doing. She's not complaining. But many people are intimidated by our stance, by our persona, by our natural expression of our potential, right? And the society will call her, she's trying to rule her husband, she's trying to run his head, and blah, 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 blah. If you are married to an intimidating wife, don't try to clip her wing. She's a gear, she's a car. You need to find out the 4-gear system that you deploy to effectively drive her. Number one is service. She wants to be served, right? So don't feel bad as a man if you serve her, right? She's your wife, right? And you are a bridegroom. Grooming a wife is serving the wife. Number 2 is patience. You need a lot of patience. Number 3 is competence. You need to become very competent as a husband, because an intimidating wife respects competence. As a matter of fact, many of them are pure sexual. They bow to superior intelligence and they get attracted to intelligent people. So you need to up your game and be very intelligent. Be the person she can come to and seek counsel from and seek advice for. Let her ride on your counsel to stardom. She will never forget it, and she will always keep referring to, oh, my husband, my husband, my husband, simply because you are the one who has given flight to the wings and you are the wing. The last word there is fatherhood. You need to become a father and see her as your first child. When you assume that persona and the mentality of a father, you will be able to watch her try, watch her fly while you're smiling. And when your mates begin to call you, the wife of the house, call you wife, call you all kind of thing, you are not intimidated and you are self-secured in yourself. Now, there are empowering space you need to be when you are married to an intimidating woman, and there is a disempowering space you can be. If you get into the disempowering space, you are going to destroy your marriage without knowing, right? So in the empowering space, she's bold and confident. Society will say she's proud and arrogant. An average wife that they call proud and arrogant is often bold and confident, which means she will not just bow down and allow people step over her, especially your family members. And they cannot understand that, because the women they are used to are disempowered women who are, who have been humbled. They are not humble, who have been destroyed totally in their esteem, who bow down and kneel down for everybody. So those are the ones they are used to. So once they can't find your wife to be trampled over, they are going to try to blackmail her. So they're going to call her proud and arrogant. That's not to say some women or some wives are not proud and arrogant, but that's not what we're talking about here. You want to check, is my wife not just bold and confident, and society is saying she's proud and arrogant, right? So they will say she's not sweeping. Why should she sweep when she can actually afford a cleaner, right? They will say she's not cooking when she can actually afford a cook, right? They are going to call her rude, but she's independent. A lot of independent women or wives are called rude. Now, so you don't want to be in the disempowered state and join them to say she's rude. She's very independent, right? She's very decisive, but they will say she seeks to take over, right? Because she cannot allow things just to work, lie down, follow. She takes responsibilities almost immediately. She is self-confident. They will say she's disrespectful. They can't stand the way she walks. They can't, because her persona is intimidating. She's a power dresser. She drives a powerful car, right? And many people cannot stand that, especially a disempowered culture where there is gross poverty and filled with cultural and traditional men. People cannot stand a confident lady. So if your wife is self-confident, they are going to try to destroy her esteem, because they find expression in the destruction of a female esteem, right? So they cannot stand the greatness of a confident woman, and they want to destroy your own wife. You must not give them that permission. So they will say she's disrespectful where she's self-confident. They will say she's ruthless where she's strategic. They will say your wife is stubborn where she's determined. A determined woman can somehow cut across as a stubborn woman, but your wife is not stubborn. She's just determined to achieve. And if you check, that determination is what she's used to achieve many of the successes that she's been through. They're going to say that she stacks legs when she's outspoken, right? She doesn't know how to call blue black, right? She will call whatever it is, what it is, right? So she may not be diplomatic, which you might need to learn, but she's a blunt communicator. Now, as a husband, here are the engagement code that you need to get the best out of an intimidating wife, right? You need your personal identity to be intact. You need to work on yourself and make sure that you are comfortable in your own skin as a husband. Once you have achieved that, you can go to bed, right? And you just be smiling at what people have to say about her. You need to have mastery, attain mastery, right? Personal identity mastery and professional mastery. You need to ensure that you are successful at something that you're doing. Your wife must be able to look back and say, wow, my husband is successful at whatever he does, right? And become a master at what you do, because like I said, she's a cybersexual. She has respect for intelligent men, right? Number three, self-security and sufficiency. You need to be secured within yourself. If you have low self-esteem, you cannot handle an intimidating wife. If you are insecure, you cannot handle her. You begin to fight with her all the time till you check out of marriage, and it will not be because your marriage was doomed to fail. It will be because you do not have the capacity to handle an intimidating wife. Maturity is another thing. Like I said, you need to have the persona and the mindset and the mentality of a father, wherein she's manifesting. You can see your daughter manifesting at the highest level, and you want to surround her with support and care. You are comfortable watching her hold the mic while you are listening. It's not a big deal. Joyce Meyer has a husband like that. Joyce Meyer is an intimidating wife married to a secure man called David Meyer, right? Leadership is another thing. You need to be able to provide leadership, and leadership is service and influence, right? That you are the engine room behind a manifestation. Now, so you are comfortable taking care of children, you are comfortable fixing meals. It's not a big deal for you. You have created a system that makes your home work and that gives fly to everyone's wings, that gives expression to everyone's potential. You must be very intelligent because, like I said, she defers to intelligence, right? You are powerful and you have created a system that works for you, right? If you are married to an intimidating Omer, if the mantra is, you know what, I don't have time to cook, right? But you guys will have the means because she'll be successful. You are successful. Get a cook and let the cook fix the meal. She can supervise, right? But because of her schedule, she's very busy, right? Even though we say to some of them, and if you are listening to me, you are an intimidating wife, you need to learn what we call stepping aside when your man steps in, right? Which means you can control people at work and give instruction. When you get home, you need to pat yourself on the back and say, I need to revert to my role as a wife, right? And allow your president take the lead without necessarily commanding the way you've been commanding at work. You need to it's a skill that is required. And when you forget, right, if your husband is a secure man, he will remind you to say, sweetheart, this is home, right? And you guys will laugh about it. You don't always have to fight about what systems can deliver or what systems can deal with, right? So as a man, you need to create the system. As a husband, you need to create a system that supports the potential of both of you and still makes your home work. So if you need to get chefs, right, you need to hire a chef, right, so that you don't bother about, oh, my wife needs to cook for me every day, because she's going to go on business trips, she's going to go on to meetings and what have you, that she even doesn't have time to eat herself, right? But you need to stabilize her and create a balance for her. Now, you need to understand that an intimidating wife's greatest fear is being taken advantage of and can be angry when goals are not met. So when she gets angry and throw tantrums, it's because she feels that the goals should have been met. Now you need to mentor her to be able to handle her anger. Now, when she fears being taken advantage of, is because you have stopped doing anything, because you now have men who do nothing, who don't bring in anything, they just sit down at home. No, that's not the kind of man she wants. She wants a support, but she wants a successful support that she can also look back and look up to, right? She is your key to taking the world. So you need to understand that. Don't clip her wings. What you need to be as a husband is be the wing and give flight to the wing. You need to be secure in yourself. She, however, needs to master the code of honor. So if you are listening to me, you are an alpha wife or you are an intimidating wife. Every time you are successful, learn to praise your man who has created the environment for your potential to thrive. Sorry, they just took power. My inverter just went up, but I'll finish this. Don't worry. I'm sure you can still see my projection. You may not be able to see my face, but that is fine. Right. So you need to she, however, needs to master the code of honor. Right. And then when it comes to the code of honor, it's because she needs to honor the person who has made provisions available. She needs to honor the person who has created the ideal environment for the potential to find expression. So if you are an intimidating wife, you need to understand it. And I love it. Let Bimbo Dukoya used to do it. Every time she won an award, she would mention her husband and she would say, without my husband allowing me to hold this mic, I will not have become the kind of woman I am. That is the code of honor that you must not violate. You must no longer begin to allow power get into your head, wherein you begin to talk down the man who gives you peace, who allows expression of your potential, right? So you need to understand this carefully. And as the husband of this woman, don't try to clip her wing. Be the wing. And be the one that gives flight to the wings, right? So you need personal identity mastery, professional mastery, self-security and sufficiency, maturity, leadership, intelligence, powerful. You need to be powerful, and you need to create a system that works. Once you do that, you will understand how to handle an intimidating wife. Tomorrow, I will come back and I'll start teaching you on how to handle a creative wife. There are 4 different types of wife. There is a way to handle all of them, and it's totally different. So tomorrow I will take on how to handle a creative wife. I hope you have learned something this morning. So sorry. Apparently I just discovered that my inverter has gone off. And that's why it's a bit dark, but I'm glad that you can actually still pick what I had to share today. And I hope this has helped you, on how to better handle your spouse. If you are married to an intimidating wife, don't let society destroy your wife by giving her names that she's not, by calling her rude, by calling her she's trying to rule you. She's not trying to rule you. That's just who she is, right? And your role is to create an environment where her strength find expression while you're trying to help her work on her excesses and our weaknesses. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me today. I hope this has helped someone. So go back to your wife, go enjoy the manifestation of her greatness, because when she becomes great, she has gone in the name of your family, and you're a good man who has allowed the potential of your wife to find expression. Okay, thank you, everyone. God bless you. God bless Nigeria. You can see this is part of what we're still dealing with, but we know someday we're going to experience 24-hour uninterrupted power supply like other nations do. Till then, keep loving, keep living. I'll see you next time. I love you. I celebrate you. Have a fantastic day. Bye bye. Bye bye.